pleased to welcome everybody here to the regular scheduled Commissioners Court meeting, February the 26th. I'd like the record to reflect that all the commissioners are here. And I'd like to especially welcome Reverend Marty Guidry from Mount Carmel Baptist Church here in Lufkin to lead us in the opening prayer. And if you would, everybody stand.
Father God in heaven, we come to you this morning in the name of Jesus, the only name that we know how according to your word, Lord. Thanking you, Lord, for your word and your promises that we can come to the throne room of God and receive mercy and find help in a time of need. And Lord, this country, this county, this world needs you right now with all the division and the chaos and the confusion, the violence and the bickering, dear God. We need peace. You said in your word that the Lord Jesus Christ is the Prince of Peace. And so, Lord, we pray that we would continue to not only pray for these opening meetings, but, Lord, to put Christ first in our lives, experience the peace and the joy and the love of knowing him and honoring him. And that, in turn, would cause us to love our neighbors and to do justly, and to love mercy and to walk humbly with our God, Lord. So I pray for this commissioner's report. I pray for Mr. Don. I pray for all of the commissioners, dear God. Lord, I pray in the name of Jesus they would be led by the power of your Holy Spirit. And in a day and age where we desperately need to see Christ move and tame hearts and calm minds, we pray that the glory of God, the mercy of God, and the justice of God would be found in this county, dear God. And as we serve you and watch you move in our lives and in our families and in this county, we'll give you the honor, we'll give you the glory, we'll give you the praise for all that you do. In the name of Jesus, our Lord and Savior, we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. And if you would, let's honor the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And honor the Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you. Please be seated. Item number 4, discussion action on awarding the bid for the lease of the Angelina County Farmers Market for the year of 2019-2020.
I want to make a motion to table this and later on we can check things out and make sure we got it properly set.
All right.
Second.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Why are we tabling it?
Any question?
I didn't hear everything.
Okay.
We're
Go
just going to
ahead.
make a motion on it until a later time. We want to make sure we got it, everything set on it.
Okay. I apologize.
All right. No further questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item number 5, presentation from Carrie Sims, County Extension Agent, to recognize the volunteer master gardeners of Angelina County. Welcome, Carrie.
Thank you. Judge Linbury, thank you, Court. Last week, we had the opportunity to recognize some of our top volunteers in Extension. As you know, at the Angelina County Extension Office, we reach a variety of disciplines, and we utilize a variety of volunteers, an extreme number of volunteers. I mean, there's 4 of us on staff, but we've got over 150 volunteers that we call on in our different disciplines. My area is agriculture and natural resources. Special thanks to Auditor Cordray for coming while everybody, I guess, was out in training and representing the county last week at our banquet. We gave away a number of awards, 2 that I want to recognize today, and then kind of give a presentation to the judge here, to the commissioners, kind of the dollar value.
We lost our display.
That's
so.
all right. That's all right. The first award we normally give to one person, and it's the we call it the Extension Service Award. It's not a fancy sounding title, but fellas. It's we're recognizing the folks that do the best job of getting out there with new audiences. We had a class last year with 5 folks in there, and I challenged those 5 to go out and do school gardens, working with kids. And they took it and ran with it tremendously. So if I can get them to stand, Rhonda Athey, Linda Bates, Linda Connor, Katrina Eccles, and James McIntyre. These folks, we recognize for doing just an incredible job. Joel Reedus worked with them as well. Joel's the Family Community Health Agent. Joel, do you want to say a few words about the gardens out there?
This is just an awesome group of volunteers. They really embody what it means to extend our outreach to capable, giving volunteers with a heart for service. They've done so much with the kids, not just going out there and planting some stuff, but going on a regular basis, teaching them about nutrition, how these foods affect their bodies, teaching them gardening skills and some lessons that support their science and reading and things like that. And the kids just love them too. So we are just big things that they've been able to help at Dunbar and a couple other schools as well.
Let's give them a hand. I'm proud of them. Thank y'all so much. Also, we give out we recognize the volunteer each year that gives us the most of their time. We had a lady that's here today with us that gave us 331 hours last year, and that's volunteer time, and she's got a whole life outside of being a master gardener. You've probably read about her in the paper, and if you've watched KLTX, the Lufkin Channel 15, she's on that too. Elaine Cameron, Elaine, would you stand? Elaine's just done a fantastic job. If I could have a whole bunch of Elaines, we could run the world. It would be awesome. But Elaine, thank you so very much. 300, I mean, that's just far and above what, I require 20 a year, 20 hours of volunteer work.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what's required. So, Elaine, thank you so much. Let's give Elaine a hand. And then, Judge, if we add up the hours that everybody gave, it was 1,467 volunteered hours given to the county in education through our office. If you multiply that times the value of a volunteer, which I think is $26 something in change, and as a national level, that would come out to, if we were going to hire folks at that level, $36,220. So take this as a fake, don't cash this. Please don't cash this. So we want to, all right, give this to you.
You bet.
On behalf of
All right.
our office and certainly all those, the Master Gardener volunteers and what they do in education.
That is outstanding. That is outstanding. All right, thank
You
you.
bet, thank you.
Since our display is not showing up properly, and I don't know why we lost the internet, anybody that would like to have a copy of the agenda, it's on the back table back there, so I'll be glad to supply, and anybody that needs to get one right quick to follow along, it's fine. All right, item number 6, discussion action on a contract between Angelina County and the Army Corps of Engineers for increased law enforcement for part of Sam Rayburn Reservoir lying within the Angelina County for the purpose of enforcement of state, local, criminal, and civil laws. Good morning.
Good morning. How are y'all this morning? This is our contract with the Corps of Engineers. I'm not sure how many years we've been doing it. I know for the last 7. Nothing's really changed. County attorney's gone over it. It's basically the exact same thing as last year. Cut the hours a little bit, not much. Starts from about March, if we get it all done March 1st, this weekend, and go through the first weekend of September. It's mainly the weekends, 8 hours a night, starting I think 6 to 2.
Is the cutting of the hours going to affect us?
No, it was very few. I can't remember now. I think it was only like maybe 20 hours out of the whole over last year that they cut. I think it went from 5 something to 480. It was very, very little. That was about it. Yeah, it's 480 this year. It was like 520 last year.
Okay. All right. What's your pleasure, gentlemen?
Make a motion.
All right. We've got a motion and a second.
Second.
All right. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Captain. All right, number 7, appearance of Jill Brewer, County Treasurer, to present, request approval of the investment report for the quarter ending December 31, 2018. Good morning.
Good morning. I say it. We
Your
haven't
very
started yet.
first report.
My very first report, and with this being my very first report, I have good news and bad news. The good news is we're gonna talk about numbers. The bad news is I'm probably gonna talk more than 5 minutes. So if you get sleepy, I'll throw something at you, okay? Just this paperclip, it won't hurt. Listen, guys, I'm gonna go through this because we have some new members on the court, and I wanna make sure everybody understands what we're talking about. And if you have any questions while I'm going through this, just stop me. And I will do my best to explain it. And if I can't explain it, then the next time I come to court, I'll have an answer. Does that sound fair enough?
Fair enough.
Okay, and remember, if you have questions, ask me while we're doing it, because I will forget. Okay, here we go. Let's see, is my 5 minutes started yet? Because I plan on talking longer than 5 minutes. Okay, on the first page, we have the summary of investment account by activity. So we have Techstar and TexPool and Southside and Commercial Bank, and then we have some funds, that's hard to say, Funds Management, which is a DWS down in Houston. Now, I was practicing with my husband, and he says, general fund? Oh, well, that's the general fund, right? And I'm like, no, it's not. He said, well, I need to explain. He needed me to explain it to him. So I figured if I needed to explain it to him after he's been living with me and married to me all this time, that I probably needed to explain it to you guys. In Techstar and TexPool, the general fund just means it's our overall basket. It's a primary. Maybe it should be called the primary investment for those entities that we invest with. And then actually down in Funds Management, now this is where it's going to get fun, where it says general fund is our primary, but where it says tobacco settlement, that's indigent health care. So that really does belong in the general fund, which is Janice's World General Fund, not Investment World General Fund. Okay? Everybody okay? Everybody sleep? Okay. Now, Deborah used to do such a great job of explaining all this. But this is my first time, so I may not do such a good job. In Techstar, it looks like she transferred $3,700,000, and then in TexPool, she transferred out $8,250,000. And then it looks like she put $4,550,000 into the money market account, and she did that so I would have funds when I started in January to manage until I could gain the ability. I can't even talk this morning. Oh my gosh! So I can gain the ability to manage some of the Techstar and TexPool, because that took and had to come to court, remember, and do a resolution and all that. So is anybody asleep yet? Anybody feeling sleepy? How many minutes do I have? Am I going to make 5 minutes?
You're doing 5.
Okay. So on the next page, we have a summary of investment by account activity. So for the general fund, what this is what we call our pooled cash report. And it shows that the general fund, the pooled cash is a negative number, but it's really not. That's where all our investment accounts are, and they don't show up as cash. They show up as investments. So that's why that's a negative number. But then you go down and you can see where we have in September, we had almost $17 million in investments that was just pertaining to the general fund and the bank account associated with that. And so then by the end of December, we had $17,761,000 and some change. So that was pretty good. And then we have our road and bridge and their pooled cash amounts, and then they're ending in the right-hand column, which grew a little bit. Well, it didn't grow too much. I can't answer for what they're, look, I can't help it. I know you're looking at me, but I can't help it.
It didn't grow much, we assure you.
Pardon?
It didn't grow much, we
It
assure you.
didn't grow very much, but overall our investments grew. So then the debt service we have, and then on the second page we have our special revenue funds. You know, this went so much easier at home in front of my husband.
Oh, you've done fine.
You guys are just making me so nervous with all your seriousness, because this is serious, but. Then we have our special revenues. We have our capital project funds, our grant funds, our enterprise funds, which is the landfill and the airport. And the landfill actually does have its own Techstar account. And they also have the Southside Trust,
Okay.
which is a very long term. I think it's it's got some cash equivalents, it's got some bonds, it's got some really exciting stuff. And then on the third page, we have our internal service funds, which is our employee benefit fund and our payroll fund, which they go back and forth with the cash in the bank, at commercial bank. The general fund at the bank supports those two funds. And you'll notice that the employee benefit fund actually has its own Techstar account, where we invest money in that. And then we have adult probation, and then we have our other agency funds. And so we started off in September with $31,934,000. And then we ended up with just a little bit less, about $242,000 less at $31,691. That $1,000, oh my goodness, and $1,000. I am not nervous, y'all. I just talk like this all the time, okay? Just so y'all know. And I think that's partly because Deborah had taken out such a large amount so I could operate in January. Then on the next page, we have our CD that we have at Commercial Bank, and it's the tobacco settlement, and that's indigent health care. I think she pulled some of that out at DWS and put it here to kind of diversify our portfolio a little bit. Does anyone have any questions? Nobody ever asks me questions.
How much? I do.
Oh, okay.
How much as a county, are we required to hold for like, storms and disasters and
The general fund is supposed to have at least 25% of its operating budget for the year. And they also recommend that the road and bridge funds have that also, just in case we have a storm. You guys will have that money. You can go buy road base and rent equipment for special, when we have emergencies, that's what that's for. So we always recommend that we have more than 25% in investments. And we also have to have in our investment accounts, we have to have enough money to operate throughout the year on. Because what happens is that Billy in her office, who do a wonderful job, they collect the money, the tax revenue. And she starts in December and she'll go all the way through the middle of February collecting our property tax revenues. And what she does is when she collects it, she takes our portion and she puts it immediately into tax pool. So we're not wasting any time making money on that. And they are modest returns because we have to be cautious. But the money that Billy puts in there not only helps support our 25% that we're required for our fund balance, but that's our operating budget for the year. Did I answer your question?
Yes, ma'am.
Did I over-answer your question?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
Interest rates are coming up a little bit too.
Interest rates are coming up, and that's good if you're investing. That's bad if we're borrowing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but that's okay. 'Cause they won't.
In answer to your question, Commissioner Harrison, 3 months is usually 25%.
Yeah.
And that's really the minimum backup that you can have.
If I remember our audit report last time, they said we had about 42% in reserve.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly. So that's-
Well, when you have a healthy investments,
Yeah.
you have a lot of balance in your investments. That also helps your borrowing power.
You bet.
Say if we want to issue another
Your credit rating.
bond or credit rating, or if we want to do certificate of obligation,
That
later
credit
on
rating.
down the road, if we want to do that next year or the following year, when we have a healthy investments, that helps our rating. That helps our ability to borrow at a lower rate because we have the backing for it.
You bet.
Does anyone have any questions about the Southside Trust account? Because I will do my best. This is a booger. I spent days gazing at this thing, and I did come up with some stuff, okay? Deborah left me a template, and I'm I'm telling you, if she hadn't left me a template, y'all wouldn't get this until June, because I would have had to build it. So she did a really good job. But on page 6 of that, where it says total assets, and it says $6,967,000 and some change. And then our unrealized gain and loss, that is our interest that we haven't, because it's part of the trust, and over time, we will not lose money over time. But right now, we're kind of below what the fair value is. So, that was so much, did I talk longer than 5 minutes?
No, that's fine.
I tried. I'm trying to expand my ability to speak in public without repeating myself constantly.
All right. All right, gentlemen, any other questions?
Motion approved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any other questions? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Good first report.
Judge, I have a side note. I wanted to keep you guys apprised. While I was at class, we learn stuff while we're at class, right? Stuff that make us dangerous because we know something. While I was at class, I learned about a different investment pool that is similar to Techstar and TexPool, and it's called Texas Class. And
Really?
so I have not had time to investigate it, but this is why I waited till after you voted, because this is kind of a side note. The interest rate seems to be comparable to Techstar, maybe slightly bit higher. And so I'm gonna do some more investigating, and I'm gonna track it over the next few months to see how it performs. And so when I bring the investment report back, when I do this again, I'll have more information on that. And then I may ask for a recommendation, because I have to have your permission to invest. It's not on our list.
Right.
And just a temporary permission. It's my plan. I may track it for a couple of months and say, this isn't worth our time. And so then I would ask for temporary permission, invest for a few months, see how it tracks. And then by the time it's time to invest our investment policy again, maybe we can add it to the list, and maybe we might say it's not worth our time, close it and put the money back wherever you got it from. Does that sound okay?
Sounds fine.
I just wanted to keep you guys apprised of my plan, instead of surprised by, what on earth are you talking about, Bill? All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Item number 8, discussion action to authorize the county judge and county commissioner Bobby Cheshire, precinct 4, to sign the paperwork for the purchase of 2 motor graders for Road and Bridge number 4 from Mustang Cat to be financed by First National Bank, Wichita Falls, Texas.
Thank you, Judge. As everybody on the court knows, recently we auctioned off our 2 motor graders at the end of our 3-year lease agreement. Mustang Cat won those bids with $188,000 on guaranteed buyback. We had ordered back in December 2 replacement motor graders on a 3-year guaranteed buyback of $228,000 each. It's going to adjust our annual payment a little bit, and we have enough funds in our fund balance to cover that adjustment, and then we'll fix the adjustment in budget process in August. I think Councilor Kirby has overlooked the lease agreement. Everything appears to seem to be in order. There was a question about what was the date in December, and Brandon said he can adjust that date with no problem and shouldn't affect our contract or agreement or anything. And I'd like to make a motion for authorizing the judge and I to sign, unless Councilor Kirby has a question.
All right.
I don't have any questions, Judge, Commissioner. I did review the documents that Commissioner Cheshire's requested, and previously reviewed those documents back in July of last year when the court authorized the ordering of the two pieces of equipment. And they are in line with what the courts approved and signed in the past, and are any significant changes from the previous agreement. Everything appears to be in order. The agreement does include a buyback agreement, as Commissioner Cheshire mentioned. from Mustang Cat, the seller of the equipment. And they provided us with that agreement back in July. It was $228,000. And that agreement is still in place, although the paperwork that was executed at that time had a date, or the date on that paperwork is now out of date. And we requested and they supply us with a new agreement with an updated date. And they're present today, I understand they're agreeable to doing that. Doesn't change the terms of it, just update the date on it.
Right.
So with that, I think we're in good shape.
I have the originals here for the judge and I.
All other conditions met.
There was, the only other thing I did note was the amount of those annual lease payments was not completed on the documents that I had. And I understand they've supplied that information today, and Commissioner Cheshire has it.
Yes.
$36,000 and some,
$36,164.66.
would be the amount of the annual payments.
Yes, sir.
Is that 4 payments or 5?
There'll be, full payments.
4 payments? The reason I was asking is, one place here it shows for 3 years and then the lease payments for 5, so.
On the exhibit, it does show 5 payments, but one of the payments was today, and it shows 0 on it.
Yeah, the balloon payment would be $228, which we,
They're counting that as.
yes, as the buyback would be counted as one payment. So, make a motion, for the court to approve authorizing the judge and I to sign.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second
And here's the originals.
on the floor. Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you, court.
Item number 9, appearance of Georgia Kimmy. Good morning. To discuss and get approval for the Commissioners Court for the submittal of a grant application for the 159th District Court Drug Court Program for Angelina County to the Office of the Governor, Criminal Justice Division. Good morning.
Yes, sir. Good morning, Judge, Commissioners. Thank you for letting me talk to you this morning. I'm not sure how many of you actually know what a drug court is, but we run on grants from Austin, the governor's office, at least the 159th does, and every year we have to reapply for money, as Janice knows. And when we do this, the governor's office wants to know that the county is behind drug courts, that you support that kind of program. And I have a resolution that would need to be signed by the judge if you are. Basically what it says is that the county is supportive and that if the funds are in any way misused or not needed or something like that should happen, that we would refund that money back to Austin. And then finally that Marcy Anthony, as Director of Probation, is the one who is really in charge of these types of programs, and she can make decisions about whether or not we want to increase or decrease the programs in the future, things like that. What we're doing here is for the 159th Drug Court, we're applying for a grant that is practically $109,000, and I'm a rounder, so it's actually like 108 and 900,000, something like that. But what we do with this money is part of it goes to my salary. I'm a part-time coordinator for the program. I'm on the drug court team, as most of you already know. And then another portion of it is for travel training. We take our team, which actually consists of 10 people, to an annual conference where we learn all about drug testing, we learn all about how mental health affects defendants, we learn about recidivism and how we can stop this, and we can rehabilitate these drug addicts so that they become productive, and we get them out of the jails where they're costing us money. We get them back to work where they can contribute to the taxes in the economy instead of being robbers and burglars and stealing from our homes and stealing property. So it's a complete turnaround, and the training is really valuable. I've been doing this for 14 years. I was with Judge White and Dustin Ford back when we first decided we needed this program for the county. So I can vouch for the training. And we also, we ask for money for drug testing. What we do in our program, and makes it different than regular probation, is we ask these defendants to come over to the probation department and meet with their officer twice a week for a UA. So typically, most drugs will stay in your system about 3 days. So we figure twice a week, and it's random. They don't know which 2 days it's going to be. That's a good way to catch them. If they've, binged on a Friday night and they think they can get clean by a Monday or Tuesday test, just to make sure, we also give them hair tests and nail tests every 3 and 6 months. And that will go back in time over a 90-day period, and that will catch anything that's been ingested in their system. So it's kind of a backup for us. So we have UAs, that's under our supplies category, the UA kits, and then we have hair tests and nail tests in the testing category with East Texas. Drug testing is our partner in that. Then we send them to substance abuse counseling every Monday and Tuesday night for the first 6 months, and then once a month in their second year of the program. They go over to ADAC, and you've probably heard of ADAC over there in Reggae, and we've got a counselor who's actually a member of our team. And we worked with, 3 or 4 counselors over there, and we partner with Phyllis. If you know Phyllis George over there, is a great woman. Has been with that organization for many, many years. And so together, like I said, the team consists of myself and the judge, and our counselors, probation officers, law enforcement. We have Officer Dale Dodd from Lufkin PD on our team. We've also had Charlie Graham on our team. We've had our police chief, Gerald Williamson, has been on our team in the past. And they come to understand what it takes to actually work with these defendants and monitor them, stay on their back, stay on their, looking over their shoulder, not just once a month like normal probation is, but this is several times a week. And then the kicker is every Thursday night they have to come up and answer to Judge White. And I don't have a criminal history, but I wouldn't want to answer to Judge White, okay? When he gets up there, if something irritates him, this is the key. His ears turn red, okay? If you ever see that, stand back, because he's ready to blow. But he's very fair, and he really cares about these people. All of this was started at his initiative, which took a little investigation. These drug courts began in the 80s, back in Miami-Dade County in Florida. And I have visited Miami. I went to Fort Lauderdale last summer and I actually saw that courthouse. We traveled down. It's in a very, very bad part of Miami, as you can imagine. And the judge there was tired of sending people off to prison, and then a few years later they'd be right back in his court because they'd come back home and they'd start reoffending. And so he wanted something a little more intense to make sure that they got with the program and really did rehabilitate after they got home. Because the statistics tell us if someone goes to prison with a drug problem, there's a 95% chance they're going to come right back in the system 3 years later. They're going to be rearrested for some kind of crime. So we've got to change that. And our program, like I said, has been in operation for 14 years. We've had, this year we'll make about 175 graduates, and it's a 2-year program. And we kind of learn as we go. We started out with a 1-year program. We thought, well, this is not enough time. These people go out and they reoffend. So we do stay on them, and I hope that you will support us because we're trying hard to make it a safer, better community. Thank you.
Georgia,
yes, sir.
the grant, this is actually a grant application. Is it pretty much a standard thing as soon as we approve it and everything coming in? And is it a 100% grant or is it a matching grant?
Okay, those are great questions. Well, we started applying with the Temple Foundation, actually, when we first formed. And then we got bigger and bigger, and we found out we needed to do more and more testing and give them more and more counseling. We just kind of had a little skeleton structure at first, and we've really learned along the years. So this grant grew over the years. We've had it now, I want to say, probably 12 out of the 14 years. But there are so many other drug courts popping out around Texas in different counties that there are more and more people applying for the same amount of money. So we have to really ramp up our applications and ramp up Angelina County and what we're doing here and why we need the money as opposed to somebody else. So it's not a sure thing that we will get it. In fact, Ms. Lowe, who works for Judge Inselman, will tell you that they did not get their funding approved this year. And so she took over the grant writing, and I think she's done a much better job. But when we had our funds from the Temple grant, it was only $50,000, something like that. And so actually you can see our needs have doubled. So it's not a sure thing, and I'm sorry, I forgot what your other question was. You had two or
The
three
question
questions?
Is it a matching grant?
Is it a matching
Or is
grant?
it a complete grant?
No, it's not a matching grant, it's just funds that they give us. We incur costs, and when
Right.
we submit for reimbursement, but there are some things that they don't pay for. They don't pay for graduation expenses. We have graduation ceremonies at local churches, and sometimes we buy cakes and food. We give out prizes, for sobriety, things like that. There's a lot, I know, that Ms. Cordray could tell you, we fall short on at the end of the year, so it doesn't cover 100%. The county, by statute, is required to charge defendants who have any kind of a drug-related offense a fee. And I know Ms. Fincher is familiar with that. It's currently it's been $60. We call it a drug court fee. And Reba Squires of the district clerk's office has not been quite as diligent as Ms. Fincher has been. So we are trying to figure out a way to work with her to collect money and roll that into court costs. Mr. Martin had been working with Ms. Squires on that. But it's still, I think what Ms. Cordray had told us last was these two programs split that amount that's collected by the county, and our share is like $3,700. It's a very small amount. We use that for per diem expenses when we go to these traveling conferences, and for graduation expenses, just miscellaneous things that come up. So no, this is not matching. It's not guaranteed, and it doesn't cover all our costs. And our backup plan is to go back to the Temple Foundation.
Right. But if you don't apply, you don't get it for sure.
That's right. And I want to say 2 years ago at our annual conference, Dustin Four and I got awards for our grant writing. So they were using our grants as sort of a template for other counties who were just getting started. And I'm not saying that to, have kudos to me. I'm just saying that it gives us a better chance. That's all.
Can I say something?
Sure.
One thing, I want to thank y'all for what y'all do. That's a needed thing here in Angelina County. Second thing, I want to make a motion that we accept with the judge signing it, so
Thank you. Thank you very much.
that's where we are on that.
We have a motion and a second on the floor. Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. And
Thank you,
stay
Judge.
there. Okay.
Oh, and Judge
Number
White,
10.
Judge White wanted me to say that any of you are invited to come on Thursday nights to his courtroom at 7 o'clock and see what we do.
Okay, you're also in number 10, okay?
Well, when I talked to Miss Alexander, we weren't sure Miss Lowe was gonna be able to make it, but she is here. No.
All right. All right, I've got appearance of George and Kimmy, number 10, to discuss and get approval for the Commissioners Court for submittal of a grant application for the 217 District Court, SAFP Reentry Drug Court. All righty. All right. For Angelina County to the Office of the Governor. And I'm not reading the resolutions, they are lengthy, okay, all right.
So we need to make a
Is this
motion
gonna
on
be
that?
the same, is this gonna be the same, it's a different
Just
grant?
say real quickly, we're just I'm sorry, Judge, Commissioners, I'm Robin Lowe. We are a different grant, we're called a
Right.
Safe Reentry Program.
Right.
Where our people go off to like a 6 to 8 month treatment facility before they come to us. We can only accept them if they go to a Safe facility. So they're getting a 6 to 8 months of treatment before they come see us. We are still a 2-year program. We meet every Monday night at 5:30, where Judge White meets on Thursday night. So we are a separate drug court. We just operate a little different as far as who we can receive and who we cannot receive. We can't receive violent offenders, or if you've got an assault charge, we have guidelines that the grant gives us, we have to follow. So
Same-
we are separate
Same
though.
kind of grant.
Same kind of grant.
Same amount?
Yes, sir. I'm only gonna ask for 50,000 this year, so mine's a little lower. I get paid a little bit, I get paid like 4,000 a year, so my salary is kind of low because I'm just part-time. So we don't need the funds to, like we would have to pay for Miss Kimmy's, budget.
Okay.
So mine's a little lower, so I'm just asking for 50,000.
Okay.
So,
Well, thank you
okay,
again.
thank you all
and,
so much for supporting us. We feel like we make a big, huge difference in our community,
Good
so
deal.
we appreciate you guys.
Motion to approve with the judge's signature.
All right, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank
Any
you.
opposed? Thank you. Motion passes. All right, number 11, discussion action on approving an Equal Employment Opportunity Grant, EEOP. Are we ready to discuss this now? James?
Yeah, I
Okay, all right. Well, I knew that you had been involved in getting it approved and everything.
Well, Carrie Kirby's been the one that's really been looking over and working and trying to get one together. And
All right.
this is what, between the two of us and an example that we had, this is what we have agreed that would be good for the county, because these EEO plans are required for grants over a certain dollar amount. And after some comments by previous audits from the state asking, they wanted to see a copy of our EEO plan, we didn't have one, we couldn't find one. So anyway, that's when we started trying to work on getting one together, and the sheriff's office is applying for a big grant, and it's a requirement, and there's other requirements that's gonna have to be taken care of by the sheriff's office for a utilization report. And that's a detailed report that's also gonna have to be done, but that's gonna have to be followed up with the sheriff's office. So anyway, but yes, this is the plan that we think will take care of our needs for the time being.
All right. Guys, any questions?
Did y'all have a copy of that?
We have a motion
Make a motion to approve, draft report, so.
and a second.
Second.
All right. Any other questions? All right.
Good.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. All right, number 12, discussion action on a request from Road and Bridge number 4 to get approval to participate on Operation Savannah Spring Clean to be held on April the 6th, 2019. Commissioner?
Thank you, Judge. This is a biannual, community-wide effort that goes on twice a year. It's in response to the free day that the landfill offers Angelina County residents to dispose of trash and materials that they have collected over a period of time. Being that Zavala is 30 miles from the landfill, the court decided some time ago, or commissioner decided some time ago, that they would hold a special event in Zavala twice a year to support the effort to keep the residents down there from having to travel so far. And the only there is a clerical error on the flyer that's posted on here. It says from 7 a.m. until 11 p.m., which would it would be 11 a.m. Instead of 11 p.m. We wouldn't be working that long, but we would, landfill would have an average of 8 dumpsters down there. We'd operate with anywhere from 4 to 6 employees to run equipment. Judge Inselman's office and the probation department supplies probationers to come down and help offload trash and give them community service time. And they also work, if I recall correctly, Robin, they work at the baseball complex and a few other the city parks and things like that. And it's a really good opportunity for our probationers to help give back to their community and paying their debt to society and with a community service. And I'd ask the court to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. All right, item 13, discussion action on request from Road and Bridge 1 for permission to purchase a used 670G motor grader from Flint Construction and Forestry Division.
Motion to approve.
Let me go ahead and say this. I went up and looked at this machine. It's a very good machine. It's in my budget to do it. I don't have to get any more money and we need another machine now. So I have cleared from the other two as far as I understand. So that we had leased. I want to go ahead and purchase one. It's a 2-year deal and we're done. And so I just think it'd be better for me to do it this way this time. So And, I would like to say on your motion, that I would like, so the judge and myself both can sign this contract, because the way I feel about this, I'm the one doing this. I want the judge to approve it.
Just
but-
like we done on.
Yeah,
on my-
yeah, but I want people to understand that I'm the one doing this deal, and the judge is just backing me on it, approving or whatever, however you wanna say that, so, but that's my spiel, so,
No
here we go.
problem. I'll amend my motion to authorize the judge and Commissioner Harris to sign.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Any other question? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. All right, number 14. Discussion action on budget, transfer from Road and Bridge 1, transfer from Hardtop Roads, $10,000 to culverts, $10,000.
Let me explain this one. I'm getting popular, ain't I? All right, as everybody in the room knows, it's been very, very wet. I've lost some pretty significant culverts this year. I usually have about $3,000 to $5,000 in my culvert, but I've went over that. It's because we've had blowouts. I think this is, they say it's a 10-year deal on all these culverts, and I believe this is the 10th year, because I got some swallowing themselves. And we just need to get them fixed. So, but that's where I'm at on that, so.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, any other questions? We do have a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 15, a 2019 budget transfer as follows. Discussion action on budget transfer, Road and Bridge 1. Increase Hardtop Roads, $50,000, decrease fund balance, $50,000. Commissioner?
Here I am again. On, March of last year, Encore came in, they did a bunch of work. They put one of those transition lines from Lufkin all the way to Crockett. Well, they had these big machines, they got up on my roads, they tore the roads up. I had a little discussion with them, and they said they would pay $50,000 to help me fix those roads back. Well, it took till, I think January, something other, to ever get a check, but, which is fine, you know what I'm saying? I just appreciate them, doing what they said they would do, but anyhow, this thing started in 2018. We just need to get it back up into my 2019 budget, so I can go ahead and get these roads fixed as soon as it dries up enough, so that's where we at on that.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, motion and a second. Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 16, consider any miscellaneous routine items. Y'all have the items in your packet.
Judge, we got one from tax assessor collector, two from Texas A&M Agri-Life Extension Service, and one from Michael Smith, the collections director. Miscellaneous that I see. Make a motion to approve.
All right. And a second?
Second.
All right, second. All right, any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 17, consider approval and authorization for payment of the bills as submitted by the auditor.
Motion to pay bills.
All right,
Second.
and a second. All right, any questions on these bills?
I don't have
All
any.
right. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Recess or adjourn, gentlemen?
Judge, before we adjourn, on
Sure.
February 20th, I requested to put an item on the agenda for today's court, and I don't see it on here. And it was my understanding that you removed the item.
I did. It
It was in reference to the
public forum.
public forum and rules of procedure.
Right. The item that was submitted on Friday when we got back from College Station had some items in it that had a question, and the county attorney and I talked about it, and we wanted to relook at the items a little bit first and have some understanding of one of the parts that had been added to it wasn't clear to me in my understanding of exactly what it was saying to do.
Yes, sir.
And so I wanted to have an opportunity to discuss that and find out exactly what it was saying before we went forward with it. So I did have it removed, and it was me.
Well, Judge, I appreciate you telling me that, I know we had discussed about public forum, and I'd asked the court for permission to draw up an outline and some guidelines, and I did that, and I had it was set for agenda. I do intend to put that agenda item back on the court for next court as written, and at that point in time, we can discuss it with counsel in open court.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Judge.
All right. Now, recess or adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Really appreciate everybody being here today.